Do you agree with me that the people at the very top don't actually really care deeply about these issues? They're just kind of managing this huge company, this machine that's moving on its own in a certain direction?
I think it really varies. I think there are some who are all in and who will just they will keep doubling down. But I do think the majority likely are just focused on other issues, focused on the bottom line. They get some signals that have been filtered through multiple layers within the corporation, and they're told, hey, we got to do this, here's some data, and they just sign off on it, right? And on some level, that's understandable. But I think where we are now, it's risen to a level where it really should take more of a focus and it arguably be some version of mission critical. Here's something that I've been focusing on. It might be a narrow issue, but I think it's relevant. So we've got a lot of these companies that support the human rights campaign in one way or another. Maybe it's just by filling out the corporate equality index survey. Maybe they're actually partners, right, on the corporate website. My point has been, look, if you want to do that, then you should decide whether you actually believe that a child can be born in the wrong body, right? You should actually tell us that you as a board, as a CEO, believe that a man can become a woman simply by saying so. Because if you're choosing to support this organization in one way or another, and you haven't even decided what you believe on those issues, that also is potentially a breach of duty. And I actually got to go to the Goldman Sachs meeting, a live meeting, one of the few, and I went up to the microphone during Q&A, and they're a bronze partner of HRC. They get 100% on the CEI. And I simply asked the CEO, what is a woman? Because you need to be able to answer that question if you're going to be all in with HRC. And that's where I think that's one of the examples where if we can keep pushing that sort of accountability, they're going to crumble, because they don't want any part of trying to answer that question.
I want to piggyback on something you said. HRC is a pivot point in this debate. The Corporate Equality Index has been huge for years. It's been used by HRC to really terrify CEOs. Oh, we're going to paint you as, bigots, as discriminatory, et cetera, et cetera. And what we've seen is that thanks to Robbie Starbuck and others who came before him who weren't recognized, but mainly Robbie Starbuck, people have started pulling back from that equality index. And we've seen that HRC has actually been in the position of losing money, losing critical staff. They've had to lay off about 20% of their staff. So that is a tangible result of these last couple of years of real momentum on our side. And that is key, because HRC is really at the point of this. I mean, they're really the nucleus of what's going on here for a lot of these issues
we have in our favor. And this is something I heard from somebody else, and I just love it, which is from the right, we just want corporations to get back to neutral, right? That's what we're shooting for, is get out of this politicized, whatever you want to call it, capitalism. I basically refer to it as neo-racist, neo-Marxism, but just get back to neutral. Whereas the left really needs totalitarianism, right, in one form or another. So we have an advantage there because we win when we get these corporations back to neutral. And the corporations want to be perceived as neutral. So I recently posted on X the statement I gave at the Alphabet meeting, where we were asking them to sever ties or at least reconsider their connection to HRC. And in their opposition statement, they tried to frame themselves as neutral. And I just pointed out, look, you're not neutral, because not only are you getting 100% on that score, which you don't get by being neutral, you're also sponsoring them, which they say on their website means you support their work. And you aren't filling out the ADF's Alliance Defending Freedom Viewpoint Diversity Score Index. So you're clearly not neutral, right? But they can't afford to just come out and overtly affirm their bias. So that's also a pressure point that we can keep pushing on.
Yeah, it seems they're kind of stuck because right now they're sort of hiding. Like if they come out and change their position, they're going to draw media attention by moving to the middle, I think. But if the pressure from the right is strong enough to keep just being that rock in the shoe. But we've seen, like I have this list here, MasterCard, they were a platinum donor. So they gave $175,000 in previous years for the Pride Parade in New York City. And they quietly, there actually were 5 platinum donors. They gave nearly $200,000 to this parade. What a parade. That's why I don't know what they spend the money on. They're not wearing any clothes. I know they're not spending on clothes. And so they went down to 1 platinum donor. I think Garnier, the shampoo, is another one. MasterCard dropped off. There's others, and it's not just New York City's parade. Lowe's is another great example of a brand that,
what on earth are you doing?
It doesn't align with your brand. If you're selling like leggings or something to girls in like Manhattan, I think it makes sense, because you can kind of assume some politics there that they're going to be aligned with. But Lowe's, tractors, it doesn't make sense. So they ended their sponsorship of one in Ohio. And we have, look, Toyota was doing stuff that they pulled back. They had a 3-year deal that they pulled back on. So these are big. They're not all American brands, but these brands that are operating in America pulling back. Do we think this is, I guess maybe we don't know, but do we think it's permanent? Where is the tide? Is it now at 50-50, or is it just like we're starting to gain momentum and there's a long way to go?
I would say there's safety in numbers. I think you have to give a lot of credit to the first companies that Robbie exposed, like Tractor Supply and John Deere and others, who took that step, because now CEOs are like, well, this isn't even news anymore if we become neutral. I mean, now, even if I see another headline, and this is crazy because 5 years ago I couldn't imagine anyone doing this. Now I'm like, oh, it's just another company. But it's huge momentum. So, and I think they're like, well, we're not the only ones.